I'd like to call the December 7th, 2023 meeting of the Franklin City School Board to order, and I would thank all of you for coming. Always glad to have you. Do we have a motion to come out of closed session?
I move that the school board, having been in closed session pursuant to a proper motion, come out of the closed session.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to come out of closed session signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Do we have a motion for certification?
Whereas the Franklin City School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote, and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-371D 12.d of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, and now therefore be it resolved that the Franklin City School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion for certification signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? That motion carries. Once again, welcome everyone. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have three possible motions that will come out of closed session. One relates to non-resident students. Do we have a motion to approve the non-resident students?
I so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion carries. Do we have a motion to approve our participation in the class action lawsuit on social media?
I move for our participation in this lawsuit.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. We have a motion on our personnel agenda.
I move to approve the personnel agenda with the exception of items 6 and 7.
Items 6 and 7. Do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion carries. Roll call. Ms. Davis, please.
Ms. Boone,
Present.
Ms. Council,
Present.
Ms. Parker,
Present.
Mr. Holt,
Present.
Ms. Powell,
Present.
Ms. Johnson, Dr. Carter.
Present.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Item 3.1, our consent agenda. We have minutes from our meeting on August the 17th. We also have minutes for September the 7th. Do we have a motion to either accept them individually or totally?
I move to approve August 17th and September 2nd minutes as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Dr. Carter.
Yes, Mr. Phelps, we have a student recognition.
Good evening, board. Dr. Carter, school board, everyone else in attendance tonight. I want to introduce you to Ms. Zaya Alexander, an 8th grade student at Franklin High School. On October 17th and 18th, our students took the writing SOL, which is a 2-day test for writing. One day is multiple choice, and the other day is actually doing the writing prompt. And Zaya scored a 600, which is a perfect score.
Wow.
So let's give Zaya a big round of applause.
Congratulations.
Her family is here. And I know we have something to give you. Her teacher is Miss Shakira Barnes.
Okay.
Thought she was coming tonight, but maybe she'll come later. But Miss Barnes is her teacher. She's also very proud of Zaya, and we're very proud of Miss Barnes as well. So Dr. Carter, do you want to present Zaya with something? And then I have something as well. Yeah, like
Could
I
our
was saying
parents
while
come
y'all
up,
were
please?
clapping, her family is here.
Mom and Dad.
Mom
Would
and
you
Dad.
like to
Mom and Dad.
up? Mom and Dad, brother,
Come on up.
sister. Everybody come on up.
So Zaya, this plaque reads, "The Franklin City Public School extends its heartfelt congratulations for achieving this remarkable feat of obtaining the highest possible score of 600 on your English 8 Writing Standards of Learning SOL test. This outstanding accomplishment is a testament to your dedication, hard work, exceptional abilities. It's truly an impressive achievement that deserves recognition and your praise. Congratulations again." So let's come over here and take a picture. Family.
Also, for everyone, in case you don't know, at Franklin High School, on the wall right by the main office, we have what we call the 600 Club.
Yeah.
And we have it for English, math, science, and history. So Zaya's name has been added to the plaque. Zaya Alexander, writing fall 2023. So this will go back on the wall at Franklin High School.
Sorry. Sorry. Repeat it behind her if you would, sir. Patient. This way. Very good. There.
Can I say something?
Thank you. Congratulations.
You can say something? I'm about to speak.
Dr. Carter. Dr. Carter.
Yes, the SBA recognition. I understand.
Hold on. Miss Alexander, I just want to tell you congratulations on achieving that, and I want you to continue to excel and to do great things. You understand? Once again, congratulations. I'm very proud of you for this.
All right, this next award goes to Mr. Robert Holt.
Where?
Mr. Holt serves as our Virginia School Board Association delegate. Requires him to represent us at the VSBA events, conferences, and meetings. He serves as a liaison between us and the VSBA, sharing information, gathering input, and advocating for our district's interests. He may also participate in policy discussions, vote on resolutions, help shape our organization's positions, and education-related issues. Especially his job at the VSBA delegate is to actively engage in the VSBA activities and support the interests of our school board with the larger association. We are more than grateful to him for his continued service to our community. Thank you so much, Mr. Holt.
All right, get up. The board's coming down for a photo with him. Be careful with the photo.
Gotcha. Still up. Very fine. Good. This way. One more. And I like you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter, and thank you, board. This is one of those board-earned awards, I think, so thank you.
All right, Ms. Tompkins.
Chairman Holt, Vice Chair.
Ms. Tompkins, use your mic.
Sorry. Thank you, school board members, Dr. Carter, and all those assembled here today. It gives me great pleasure to provide you with an update on our Accelerate Franklin 2022-2028 strategic plan update. We had a great time November 28th through 30th working with our strategic planning community team as well as with some of our wonderful students. So I want to give you a little bit of an update on what came out of those 3 days. Next slide, please. So the ultimate goal for the strategic plan are as follows. We want all schools to be fully accredited. We want to certainly retain, recruit, and invest in high-quality staff, continue to develop business and community partnerships, and of course, increase our family and community involvement. A part of that planning process involved holding a community summit with key stakeholders to come and really listen and talk about what the strategic planning process would be and how they could be a part of this process. We asked for volunteers to sign up, and we got quite a few volunteers to sign up to be a part of this community process. And then we had that 3-day training, November 28th through 30th. From that 3-day training, we established a mission statement, some objectives, as well as what we believe as a community. The next training will be held in January 2024, where we will look at all of the objectives that came out of the strategic planning process, and then we will establish action teams so that we can work individually on each of those objectives so that we can make, as Dr. Carter always says, Franklin City Public Schools will be a premier school division in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Next slide, please. So what do we believe? These were based on what we as a community came up with all of the stakeholders. And I'm going to read each of them because they each have, I think, power. And what I love most about these is that our students were involved in this. We heard from our students. They had a voice in these belief systems. So here's what we came up with. We believe that each student will reach their highest potential. We believe a supportive community sets a standard of high expectations for students and staff. We believe all students will have equitable and necessary resources. We believe that a positive school culture embraces mistakes as learning opportunities. And this is one in particular that our students really honed in on, that mistakes are a part of that learning process. We believe that families and community play a critical role in the success of all students. We believe a structure of support by administrators allows us to attract and retain high-quality instructional staff. We believe every student and educator will have a safe and emotionally supportive learning and working environment. We believe that each individual is valued and respected as a unique member of the learning community. And finally, we believe that every student becomes a contributing member of our learning community. So those are our beliefs that came out of those 3 days. Next slide, please. So based on that belief system, we have not, the part of the developing a new mission statement, this is not the final statement, but this is the spirit of the work that came out of that strategic planning meeting. So the mission of Franklin City Public Schools, accelerating, innovating, and transforming to become a premier school division that encourages community partnerships, hands-on learning, and real-world experiences through promoting high academic standards, emotional development, and research-based practices for all students by recruiting, retaining, developing, and investing in a diverse workforce in a safe and supportive environment. That's the spirit of the work that was done during those 3 days. The student voice really came out in our mission statement, particularly in the hands-on learning and the real-world experience. Our students had an opportunity to be interviewed by the strategic planning team and really talked about their hopes and their aspirations and what they felt the mission of Franklin City Public Schools should be in order to prepare them for life after college, after high school, whether it be college or going into the workforce. Next slide, please. So based on that mission, how are we going to accomplish that mission? There are some key objectives that came out of that. We have an objective in the social emotional learning space. So we want everyone to feel safe, not just physically safe, but emotionally safe, free to make mistakes. Partnerships. We can't do this work without the community, without business partners, without our community, our faith-based community. All of those partners play a key role in the success of any school division. Instruction and academics. We know that schools are in the core business of education. And so we have to ensure that our mission is clear and is focused on educating our students. Next slide, please. Then we want to, how do we accomplish this? How do we educate our kids? We have to not only recruit and retain, but we have to develop and invest in a high quality, diverse staff that engages in regular professional learning. Technology, we have to have the infrastructure to keep up with jobs that we have yet to discover, but our kids will be the beneficiaries of the work that we do now. And then fiscal responsibility. How do we ensure that the finances that we are provided, that we're good stewards over that money? And next slide, please. And here's our wonderful strategic planning committee. As you see, we have a cross-section of folks from the community, from our business partners, from our students, to our principals, to our assistant principals. City council was represented. We had our community college represented. So we had a great cross-section of folks who really had a voice and a hand in creating what I just presented tonight. And last but not least, next slide, the picture of those of us who were there and participated. Next slide. That ends my presentation. I will entertain any questions at this time about this strategic plan and the strategic planning process.
So what's the next step?
The next step is, once we look at all of the information that I've just presented, we will get back together in January where we will go over, okay, here are our beliefs, here are the objectives. So how are we going to, we have to have an action team lead who will solicit other volunteers to be a part of those action teams. So for every objective, there will be an action team leader with a separate action team, and volunteers will be solicited at that time. But we get back together to go over who's going to be the team lead and how are we going to move forward with soliciting for volunteers to work on just that piece. So they won't have to work on the whole plan. Each action team will bring back their objectives and their strategies for how we're going to accomplish this, and all of that will come together to make our strategic plan. Any other questions?
We know you and Ms. Davis spent a lot of time working on this, and it's paying off. Thank you, Ms. Tompkins.
Thank you. Next time we'll get Mrs. Davis in our picture.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Tompkins.
Thank you.
Ms. Morrison.
Good evening, Dr. Carter, school board members. I'm going to present the November financial report. This is our general fund only. 5 months or 42% of the year has gone by, and we have spent 37% of our expenditure budget so far. And looking at the operations and maintenance is over a bit because of the electricity costs that we pay the city of Franklin, and the transportation is over a bit because of the fuel costs that are rising. Okay, next slide. Here is the textbook fund and the nutrition fund. The nutrition fund is a bit off at the moment because as of the end of November, we had not received the October reimbursement yet, but we have since received it in the first week of December. Next slide. The federal grants, you can see that we've expended 38% of our funding, and that is primarily due to the roof project. That is included here under facilities. And we have filed all reimbursement requests for the roof project. We have not received them yet. We're hoping to receive the first $1 million in the next week or so. Next slide. And this is the overall total. Again, we've spent 37% of our expenditures with only 32% of our revenues coming in, but that is due to not having received the roof reimbursements yet. So next I have the vouchers for November. Okay, I have a budget amendment request.
Just a second, do you want the vouchers? Do you want the vouchers next? I'll give you the vouchers, hold on. This is the audit report, it's not the vouchers.
I can go with the audit report. So our audit is finally final. Fiscal year 2023 has been put to rest. Next slide. The city was sent these documents so that they could include us as a component unit of their financials, and independent external auditors have examined all of our processes and documents and transactions, and they have rendered a clean, unqualified opinion on our results. You should be getting that complete audit soon, and if you go to the next slide, this is kind of a summary of where we are with that. If you look at the total liabilities and fund balances, we have school operating, the cafeteria, the textbook, and the school activity funds in the grand total. And the unassigned fund balance under school operating is $891,000. That is the amount that we're requesting the city of Franklin roll over into year 24. And they have already granted us $308,000 of purchase orders that were encumbered in 23 but not paid yet. And the remaining $580 will be requested for capital improvements. And we have every hope that that will be approved by the city. Okay. Questions on the audit?
No, but I actually had questions on the, how can I say, before here.
Yeah.
It was parent engagement and nutrition, and it had in the brackets $65,000. Why were they placed together? parent engagement and nutrition before. If
It's
you
a slide
come
right
out here-
before
It's
this.
a slide before
Yeah.
this. You have to come out of here.
Oh, hold
Sorry.
on, hold on, Spoon.
And go to the top one. Yes, ma'am. And I think it was slide 4.
Okay, just a second.
They're together because,
Do you see it?
It's not this one.
It's not this one. It's this
It's
one.
this one.
right, the
Parent
grand total.
engagement and nutrition.
And the grand total is the entire district. And the nutrition department is in 65,000 function, and so is parent engagement. So once you combine them all together, it comes out on that one line.
So total, both are 65? I'm not understanding that. Like,
65,000 is the name of the function?
okay, it's the name of the actual function.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Different totals.
Any questions for Ms. Morrison?
I'm excited to hear a clean and is it called unencumbered? Unqualified. That's excellent.
Yes, ma'am. So I have 2 budget amendments requests. The first one is to record the new Title V allocation that came in. This is the difference between what we had on our books and what it needs to be. I recommend that this amendment be approved.
We approve them together. You said you had 2?
I have to. Okay.
We can probably.
Let's see
look
the
at it.
second one. The second one is, the DOE has given us a security grant for security equipment for the schools of $250,000. It has to be spent by June 30th of 2024. So this amendment is to record the revenue and expenditure budget related to that grant. So I recommend that both amendments be approved.
Do we have a motion from the board to approve the 2 amendments, the financial report and the final audit report? Or do you want to take them separately?
Either way, I so move to approve both the budget amendment and
The grant.
the budget adjustments. Is that what it is? I so move to approve both.
There are 2 budget adjustments in the November financial report and then the final audit report.
Move to approve everything that's requested. How's that?
As it is so present,
Yes.
I approve.
I second.
That's a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Dr. Walters.
Good evening, Board. The way that the schedule fell, we didn't recognize our ABCD award recipient in November, so I have 2 to represent this evening. Unfortunately, I don't see either of them with us, but I'm going to make sure that they get this recognition tomorrow. For November, it is Mr. Scott Evans. Mr. Scott Evans has masterfully transitioned from manager at the SP Morton Elementary cafeteria to interim nutrition supervisor. He works closely with the finance team to ensure records are being kept properly, and the district continues to seek all available reimbursement while following USDA guidelines. Not only has he successfully transitioned to this new role, he continues to support his colleagues, particularly supporting the interim manager at the elementary school. Thank you for your continued efforts and dedication to all FCPS students. And our December awardee is also from Food Services, Miss Chelsea Sutton, who is the interim manager at the elementary school. This was submitted by the administrative team at SP Morton. Ms. Chelsea leads by example. She makes sure that no child leaves hungry and even comes out from the back to interact with the students. She and her staff are a joy to work with, and she models exemplary leadership daily. I am super proud to recognize her as our nomination for ABCD for SP Morton. So again, Both awardees will receive a certificate and a $50 Amazon gift card, thanks to our partners with Garland, our roofing consultant. So if we can give them both a round of applause. So we'll move into our phase 2 of our roofing project. Our partners with Garland have released a request for proposal on behalf of FCPS, soliciting bids for completion of phase 2 of the roof project at SP Morton and at Franklin High School. We worked very, very closely with them to take what was initially phased over 3 phases, consolidating that to complete that with just a second phase. If you'll take a look at both pictures, what the areas that are shaded in blue are the areas that are going to be targeted with phase 2, with a small exception at Franklin High School. The red arrows are the roof covering the covered walkway between Second Hall and Third Hall. We're continuing to look at some capital improvement on those sections to improve safety. And so it's very likely that we're going to be doing some larger construction at those breezeway areas. And in speaking with Garland, I didn't want us to move forward with roof improvements just to have to demo that as part of a larger project. So I did ask that they specifically pull that from the RFP that was being shared out with our businesses. Next slide, please. So we did receive 4 competitive offers. The more economic option is about $2.5 million. The more expensive option then ranges to about $3.4 million. And what we asked Garland to do with this was to bid the projects collectively separate, which I know sounds like an oxymoron. We wanted to work with one contractor because we believe that the cost is going to be a little more favorable for us to only have one contractor. They're able to bring in the supplies. They're able to mobilize one team. But we did need for them to separate out the cost. So Ms. Davis, if you could put the next slide. The reason that we needed to separate this out is we are pursuing another round of literary loans to help us fund this work. And we're able to fund up to $1 million per project. So we couldn't just say FCPS roofing projects because we would only receive $1 million. We needed those to be teased out to the SP Morton project and the Franklin High School project. So what we're going to do, we are going to utilize the literary loan for the total cost at SP Morton at $805,000. We're going to maximize the literary loan for the high school, so we're going to borrow $1 million, and then we're going to utilize $700,000 of the $1 million that we returned to the city as part of our construction fund in order to fund the total $2.5 million work. So our recommendation, we're seeking approval from the board to move forward with the contractor whose pricing was the $2.5 million. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Did you,
Can you go to the one
Recommendation.
before that?
Yes, ma'am.
are you going to deal with the recommendation?
He did.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I missed that.
So I'm curious about the huge difference between the highest and the lowest bid, and in terms of quality and how that impacts that we take the lowest bid. I mean, obviously, I'm not looking to just spend money, but I just want to make sure we're getting a really good job well done.
Certainly. And I'll say that Dr. Carter and I have both leaned very, very heavily on Garland. And our contact with Garland, Colin Daniels, and he has provided us with superior work with phase 1 at both the that his quality is not going to, his expectation of his contractors that he brings on the team is not going to change. So I believe that part of what helped us with some of the more favorable bids, some of these contractors are trying to move into the Tidewater area, northeastern North Carolina area, and so they really see this as an opportunity to do some work that will then draw in additional business in this area. So I think that part also led to some competitive pricing. But he has encouraged us to move as quickly as possible so that we can lock in at 2023 or very early 2024 pricing.
Materials.
Full transparency. The $1 billion that we have in construction funding, so we said that $700,000 is going to be drawn to finish paying for phase 2 at the high school.
Right.
We need a large chunk of that remaining construction funding to pay for the HVAC replacement at SP Morton.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're really going to have some conversation with Colin. We don't have a lot of wiggle room at all in terms of that $1 million is going to be spent very quickly.
And it is going to include the HVAC inside of SP Morton, is what you're saying.
So a separate project, yes, ma'am.
But it's all inclusive. It's, even though it's a separate project itself, that is actually the funds that put in what you're requesting for now. There's no additional funds going to come from behind.
So there are two different projects that we have. The $700,000 that we're talking about is to finish at the high school.
Right.
$800,000 is going to cover the roof at the elementary school.
Right.
In addition to that, we went to City Council and requested permission to move forward with the SCAP, the School Construction Assistance Program. They have allowed us to do that. The problem with that is we do have to cover 70% of the cost. The grant will cover 30%.
Right.
So the construction funding is really where we're looking to pull the 70% to complete that project.
So in this baseline 2.5, what you're requesting for is that bottom line. That's what I'm asking. That has everything in detailed, which is 1 roof, 2 roofs, and the
It has
HVAC unit.
1 roof and 2 roofs.
Okay.
The HVAC is a separate project with some separate funding attached to it.
Okay.
So unfortunately, no.
Thank you. That's what I wanted.
We just needed a straight up answer.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's okay.
Unfortunately, no.
All right. We need a motion.
The motion is to approve that 2.5
Yes, ma'am.
million, whatever bid.
Do we have a motion?
That's a lot. Okay, and I'm going to second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
We're just
You're very persuasive, Dr. Walters. Thank you.
The next presentation that I have this evening, districts continuously look for opportunities to make sure that we're doing things as effectively as possible and as efficiently as possible. And Dr. Carter's vision for expanding our CTE offerings has really brought us to a position where we're really evaluating the way that we utilize space across the district. And so what we are looking to do, we're looking to get your permission to split J.P. King so that 6th graders will be attending the elementary school and that 7th graders would be attending Franklin High School for the 2024-2025 school year. Next slide. What we're looking to do is at the 6th grade level, utilize Modular B to house students. We definitely recognize that 6th grade is somewhat unique, and we want to make sure that Students in 6th grade are somewhat contained so that they're able to cycle through their courses. We're looking at this to also decrease some transportation cost because we will have exclusively 2 routes and not have that 3rd stop at the middle school. We are looking to do some refurbishment to Modular B. Unfortunately, we're not really in a position where we have sufficient ESSER funding that's going to allow us to purchase another new mod, but we do need to take care of the space that we have. We're also looking, like I said, to move 7th grade to Franklin High School. Had a very good conversation with Mr. Phelps. Similar idea, we would want 7th grade definitely to be contained, and also looking at possibly containing 7th and 8th. We want to make sure that we're utilizing the space that we have. So some options could include having 7th grade on the 1st hall, or containing both 7th and 8th grade on 3rd hall. We know that this is going to require some transition of classes, so we're going to need to move some things around in order to make this happen. But we also are considering whether there needs to be master schedule changes as part of this move. 7th grade historically has operated on a year-long schedule. The high school has traditionally operated on a 4x4 schedule. So there is going to need to be some conversation about how we schedule our students in 7th grade, how we schedule our students in 8th grade, and whether we continue with that 4x4 model or whether we, for traditionally middle school grades, continue that year-long model. So this really is a good time for us to start having this conversation. Historically, in February, we really get into master scheduling, and so recognizing how many sections of each class we're going to need. So beginning this conversation in December really puts us in a good place to have some good discussion and answers to questions that need to be solved before we make this move.
Are you asking for approval for this today, or are we starting the conversation today?
I would like for there to be approval of this today, but at least start the conversation today.
Because I feel like there's a lot of conversation for this. Like, we've already had to try to segregate the 8th graders or insulate them, if that's a better word. You're adding in 7th graders, and I'm just thinking, if you're doing a year-long, I mean, you've still got things like band and other things that happen at a 7th grade level that aren't going to all be able to happen potentially on just one hall. So you're going to be having 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, 12th graders mixing. I would appreciate additional discussion about this.
Sure.
Than just an approval today.
Sure. Ms. Davis, you can click the next slide. Part of what is going to help facilitate this is transitioning some of the CTE courses to J.P. King, with the exception of 2 major programs. So we have permission to begin the early childhood program. That is already slated to be housed at the elementary school. We already have the playground equipment, and there would only need to be some minor capital improvements in order for that program to get off the ground. The other that we would like to keep at Franklin High School is building trades, because again, there's been some extensive work done preparing the space for that equipment. If we are to make this move, what we're looking at doing is utilizing J.P. King to house these CTE programs that are traditionally double blocked. So we would be able to provide transportation from the high school to J.P. King for a morning session, and then we would provide transportation back to the high school, bringing another group of students to the middle school for the second half of their day.
So Ms. Counsel, before we go any further, I asked Dr. Walters to bring the motion for us to continue to explore, because we're going to bring more information
Yeah,
back
okay, I feel better
to
about
you.
that. It sounded like you were asking
But
for
I
a
just
vote.
didn't want to go all the way,
Right,
and you didn't want this at all.
right.
Okay.
So I'm asking for us to explore this, and that throughout the coming months that we continue to keep bringing you back the information for final approval, because Dr. Ricks is going to come up behind Dr. Walters to give you even more information. But we want your consent to explore the reorganization possibilities, period.
So we're going to take this as a continuance first read?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little bit more, I mean, because you said building and trades would stay at the high school. We already know early childhood is at the elementary school, so what would be switching?
So we would bring over culinary arts, and we would bring over nursing aid. Each program that we bring over would have space for a classroom area and also a lab area. So for instance, our culinary arts students would be able to have a classroom, and then they would actually be able to practice in the kitchen that exists at the middle school right now. Similarly, the nursing students would be able to have classroom space, and then another classroom across the hall would house the hospital beds. That's where they would actually get that hands-on experience.
So you're having to transfer food back and forth, though, because the culinary arts currently does a lot of food prep for people in the high school.
No,
They provide meals for some of the athletic programs. It was my understanding they provide meals that are. There's an
well,
opportunity
we'll look at that, because that's
Yeah.
just one of the many
teachers
questions.
Purchase meals.
Okay, so for instance, as far as lunch is concerned, for students, the CTE, they will get all their lunch at their base schools, and they will just.
I'm not talking about feeding the students. I'm talking about the food that's prepared that is used for other things.
Okay, so that's just one of the things we
That's
will just
part of the
just part of
conversation
the
that needs to be
conversation that
investigated.
yeah.
And is there room in the high school? I'm just throwing out all my concerns, like my initial just blah. But like 7th and 8th grade, is there room for all of this to be in the high school? Right now I'm hearing only 2 programs at the middle school. That's a lot of
No,
space.
it's
There's more than
Ms.
that.
Council. There's more than that. There's marketing, there's business, there's culinary arts. There could be and some other programs that are escaping me right now. Criminal justice, business. So we'll move everything over except for
Those are CTE classes.
those are CTE classes.
Criminal justice is a CTE class.
Yes.
Okay.
So you move all those over right now because they're in 2 phases, and then you take the rest for phase 2 and build out. So, for instance, the coming year we're applying for barbering and cosmetology. You're building a center. You're building a CTE center. So the vision is that every student at Franklin High School will have an industry certification when they leave there, so that there will be a greater emphasis, because not every student is designed for a 4-year college. And so we want to make sure that we provide career. We got the college part pretty strong with our dual enrollment, but our career path needs some bolstering.
With our career path needing that, at the same time, from my understanding since I've been on the board, Mr. Phelps has a lot on his hands with the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Oh, yeah, sorry, with
Currently
the
has the
8th. With the 7th grade moving there, is he also going to be their administrator, or is the 7th and 8th
Well,
grade going to
Dr.
have
Their
their
own
Carter.
principal.
Dr. Carter and I talked about that, and I think the principal at the middle school position would go to that high school for the
Okay.
back end of it.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That's
Okay,
correct.
So you'd have principals assigned grades.
Yeah. You'd have a principal for 7th and 8th that's there
Okay.
in the high school.
So they would have their own administrator.
Yes, a school within a school.
A school within a school, and it wouldn't put an extra burden on Mr. Phelps.
Right.
No.
Okay, so he would actually,
He'd get to go back to 9, 10, 11, 12.
you get to go back to, yeah, he gets to go back to his 4.
He might be doing a happy dance. I don't know.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
There's a
I'm
lot
listening.
to discuss. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Right. And so, as you can see, there's a lot to discuss, but I don't want to go all the way.
Okay.
And, and you say no. We go all the way to the end of the year. You say no. So I want to put a pause, just so that you understand what I'm trying to do.
So we're taking it as the first continuous reading.
I think a good way to word it would be to explore the concept.
Yep.
And if there's a way that we can get community, like a survey or just
Oh, yeah.
comment
Sure,
or whatever
sure,
on
sure.
this as well.
Sure, we've got a lot of work to do, but I needed to put a pause right now to let you know where we are and what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So, Ms. Boone, you have a motion again?
You got the motion?
Your motion is to explore the concept, correct?
Yes,
JP
my
King.
motion is to explore the continuous concept. Yes, it is.
I
Thank you.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
I believe my last piece for the evening, I believe, is just an update on our calendar. So we've talked about a lot of things this evening.
Yes, we have.
Right?
Yes.
So have we.
Yes, we have.
A lot
Yes,
of
we
things.
have.
But did want to share kind of where we are with the calendar and where we are.
I'm sorry, do I need to go to another one? Or-
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Kind of got lost.
We got blank.
Our screen died too.
Yeah. Did it?
So we've talked about some initiatives that we're pursuing. The potential reorganization of JP King, developing that into a CTE center, which would require shifting of grade levels to the elementary school and high school. We've also talked about the roof project at the elementary school, the roof project at the high school. We have ESSER funding that will allow us to renovate the restrooms at Franklin High School. That is a desperate need. And we need to refurbish Mod B if we are moving 6th grade to the elementary school. So a lot of these large capital projects are looming. The calendar committee has met twice this year, really taking a look at some creative calendar options for the upcoming school year. One that has been shared with you is the idea of balanced calendar, which is a little more palatable than year-round school, but it's that essential concept where we take the long summer break and then we redistribute some of that time out of school throughout the year. Based on where we are with our capital needs, it's just not the right time to pursue balanced calendar for the upcoming school. So the committee is going to meet again in January, and we're going to be producing a draft calendar for the board's review that is very, very similar to the model that we're following right now. We are going to continue to explore balanced calendar as an option for the following school year when we're in a better place with our infrastructure. And once we have a continuous improvement in our instruction. So those are the two areas that we want to focus on as we continue through the 23-24 school year. But did just want to give the board an update on where we are, kind of what our thought process is. It's definitely still something that we're interested in, but we want to make sure that we're prudent with these decisions. And we don't just want to rush into a change in our calendar without the infrastructure that's going to support our students in being as successful as they possibly can be. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about the calendar and kind of where we are with that committee.
Deadline. The end. when do you see this all coming to an end, to a close, to fini, done, over? Meaning the roof and everything, because you're asking about 24-25 calendar, which we're going to take a pause on. I'm understanding that part. With the CTE coming into J.P. King, when are we looking for that to happen? This upcoming school year?
That could, we could be in a place where that could take off this upcoming school year.
I'm asking that because at the same time, in the beginning of your first reading, it was basically imperative that we give a motion for this 2.5 roofing, the ending of the roofing and everything. Am I correct?
Yeah.
The ending of the so with that not even being given a motion right now, where do we stand? Like, because from my understandings, what I just understood you say was that had to happen. So without that even happening, we can't go forward to here.
Right. So our roofs have to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And the literary loan is helping us make that happen.
Right.
The funding for the restroom renovations at the high school, that is ESSER 3.
Right.
That has to be spent by September 30th of 2024. So in terms of a timeline, I get, is that kind
Right.
of what you're asking about?
Yes, I am. The timeline.
So we're looking at potentially starting some work over spring break.
Okay.
And then we're also looking at much of this work being completed over the summer with few students in the building if possible. Same thing with refurbishment to Mod B. So we would be building this out so that it was, the roof is going to be completed, the restrooms would be completed, and refurbishment, if we choose to move 6th grade to the elementary school, all of this would need to be completed prior to September 2024.
Which means that summer classes would happen in J.P. King then. That
Yeah.
would be the most
Yes.
safest thing
Yes.
to happen.
Yes.
Is actually placing the kids inside of J.P. King for the summer so we can go ahead and finish out S.P. Morton and Franklin High School.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm getting
That's
it.
a lot
I'm
going
listening.
on next summer.
It is a lot.
Right.
And that really is why, we've had some very, very good conversation about priorities and what has to be done. And this work truly needs to be done. If we look at attempting balanced calendar, just some of the draft calendars have instructions starting at the end of July or beginning of August. That's simply not enough time for this work that has to be done
It's
to
not.
be completed for our students.
It's not enough time. No. Not by far. Oh, Jesus.
Go ahead, Ms. Parker.
Ms. Davis, can you go back for me real quick so I don't misspeak? All right, so with the refurbishing of Mod B, if we're going to take the 6th graders and all of these things there, just to make sure I'm clear, like Ms. Boone, nothing else that we've discussed tonight can do anything at all until these items right here are what we have identified as the priority, things that have to be.
Yes, you have to get them structured. You have to get them structurally ready to go.
Before we can do any of the other stuff.
Correct.
And this also does not include, it was inadvertently left off, the HVAC replacement at the elementary school. That's also a major project that we'll need to be working in conjunction with our roofing contractors on. The major work, I believe, could happen concurrently because we're looking at replacing the control panel for HVAC, and then the units at the elementary school are in the ceiling, they're not on the roof. The reason that the price is much higher at the high school is because those units are on the roof, and they're going to need to be lifted in order for that new membrane to be laid.
How much time do we think that it would take for the restroom renovations? Let's not even go to the Mod B. The restroom renovations, how much time are we looking at to get that taken care of? And how soon are they looking at starting to do that?
So Dr. Carter and I are going to be meeting early next week to prepare the RFP for the HVAC and the restroom renovations. I would hate to forecast it and give you something that is entirely made up, but it's something that we definitely need to bring back to the board, and I'll reach back out to our partner with Garland and get a timeline. It is approximately the same square footage of roof that is being completed this as part of phase 2 that we did with phase 1. So I would anticipate about the same timeline with that.
Oh, excuse me. Okay. Go ahead. That's a lot.
About the same time as the months that it's doing for the roof?
Was your question, how long is the roof going to take?
No, the restroom.
The restroom?
The restroom renovations.
I would hate to project that without submitting an RFP that's going to give us a timeline based on what the contractor says that they can do. When SP Morton's restrooms were renovated, that was completed over the summer,
Okay.
and it was ready for students on the first day of school. So that's going to be an imperative that when the restrooms are renovated, it's going to have to be ready for use at the beginning of the academic year.
And it's going to have to be probably over the summertime because sometimes they have to cut the water off.
Right. See,
So
and that
so
part,
so
and
so it has
also
to be done over the summertime.
possibility the pipes being rusted or something like that. I'm understanding that, but at the same time, I don't see where it would take as long as the roofs on the outside, and we're dealing with something on the inside of the building.
It didn't. I mean, I was over operations during that time, so they were able to
Okay.
finish the bathrooms in 8 weeks, 8 to 9 weeks.
Okay, so give or take over the summer. So come
Right.
September, it
Right.
will be done.
Right.
And I think one of the things, and Dr. Carter, you can speak to this better than me, I think that we ran into some major supply chain issues with the work that was completed at the elementary school. And so it's likely that it could be even shorter now that that supply chain has been resolved.
Yeah, COVID really slowed
We
things.
said we didn't want to hear about COVID.
Okay.
We don't want to hear about COVID no more.
Don't quote me
No,
on the
that excuse is gone. We're living on.
I said that. I did.
Any other questions for
No.
Dr. Walters?
Thanks, Dr. Walters.
Thank you, Dr. Walters.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Mr. Spa?
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
As you heard earlier, we did get the $250,000 security grant from the state.
Yes, we did.
This year. That is, again, it's not the same grant as the one Dr. Walters has talked about where we're getting the officers with. This is a grant that's strictly for equipment, security cameras, metal detectors, radios, weapon scanners, and such things like that. Combined with the match that we have to provide, it's a little over $300,000 that we have to spend on this equipment. I'm coming to you tonight for permission to purchase 2 more of the walk-through weapon scanners that we got previously. One would go to the high school. They have requested a second one there. And the other one would initially go to JPK, but would probably be moved to SP Morton in the summertime, or over the summer for next school year.
I have a question. You're talking about the ones that, the new really fancy ones, correct?
Yes, these are the same.
Are you finding that they do that exceptionally better of a job as the traditional ones do?
I have looked through various other competitor models, and I mean, none of them are perfect. I think these are probably the best. Yes, they have their flaws, as we've discovered. They're not really suitable for knife detection. We've seen some things that should probably get detected make it through, but it does have sensitivity levels, and we do have it set pretty lax on both of them. And the reason being is if you go higher, you're basically turning it into a metal detector, and you're going to get every little thing.
The
that comes
binders
through.
and everything
And was that
having
the
to go
problem
off.
with just the traditional metal detectors?
Yes,
Is
if you,
that they
so
trigger everything?
that's the obvious cheaper option is, oh, we just get walk-through metal detectors, but then all they do is beep, and they go off for anything that's on the kid's body that's made of metal. At that point, you're doing either a search or however you want to handle that. These technologies, again, not perfect, but they kind of at least give you an idea of where to look if something sets it off. It gives you an idea of what it might be. And they have sensitivity adjustments that sort of let us tweak certain things that can improve our ability to let them walk through with a laptop or a binder. It still takes some finagling and some process changes, but again, I mean, I've looked through several models. There's a couple competitors that do sort of the AI weapon scanning, and they all have essentially the same faults.
So when we did kind of test runs at the beginning of I guess last year, and we kind of came to the conclusion, it was kind of a semi-committee here, that a security officer in conjunction with these was almost essential. It looks like we're getting to that point where we're going to have the grant for both.
I think they go together very well and will boost the operational efficiency of the whole process.
So that the settings can be then set where it makes the most sense for what we're targeting, and then we're going to have a security officer that can handle when it gets triggered.
Yes.
So we're looking at 2?
We're getting 2 additional ones, again, one for the high school, because they really need kids
One
coming
at
in
both
from
doors.
two doors, and then the other, we'll initially put it at JBK, but depending on what happens, it will probably get moved to SB1.
So would it be in place at the other door, it would actually make entrance
So we
quicker
have both of them going.
than the way it is now?
Yeah, because right now you're having to funnel every kid through one.
Well, then we're only going to have
One door.
security officers though at one door though.
Well, they might,
Do it on the other one.
I don't know how they want to work that. That is true.
Because that was part of the conversation that we came up with, that having one entrance, one security officer, one detector was the most effective way to ensure security.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of insight into the security officer.
We can work that scenario out because we have 3. We may not need the third one at the middle school, depending on what happens with the CTE.
Yeah, then it'd be 2 at the high school.
Yep.
So each door.
Because that makes the most sense to have the security officer with the machine.
Right.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve the purchase from Alliance Technology Group, $200,123?
I move to approve the technology purchase as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Mr. Spa. Dr. Ricks.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about tonight is our focus as it pertains to our FCPS high-quality work-based learning updates from our committee work. So far, we have met as a committee twice, and we pretty much worked on the guidelines for how our high-quality work-based learning opportunities for students would be rolled out. So in phase 1, we decided to break this up in a few key phases. In phase 1, we're looking at study-related opportunities, which will give students that are on a track for graduation in the 11th and 12th grade an opportunity to go off-site and work on study-related work opportunities. Then we have specific work-related opportunities as it pertains to the skill or CTE programs that they are in. And then we have a component that we're looking at that deal with family and financial hardship for our students that's on track of graduation and giving them work opportunities. So that timeline for that opportunity is October through December, which we're still working on phases of revising those guidelines. And we pretty much have that outlined to the point where we go into January through March, where we focus on a specific work-based learning handbook that follows those guidelines and breaks down every component of those work-based opportunities for our students and our parents to be able to relate to, and so that we can be able to educate parents early on those different opportunities and roll out how that specifically looks in our community and being able to continue to establish those partnerships. And that estimated timeline there is from January to March. All right, so then in phase 3, as a committee, we were going to come back together and look at the opportunity of finalizing that specific work-based learning handbook. And then we look at a pilot implementation year where we are already beginning to look at students, 11th graders and 12th graders, rising 11th and 12th graders that are on that track so that we can roll that program out for the 24-25 school year. Any questions?
I like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Ricks.
Thank
There's
you.
more.
All right, 2 more.
But wait, there's more.
2 more. All right. So, in exploring the concept of our Career and Technical Center, we're in a planning and informational phase where we're gathering information, and we're looking at specific CTE programs that, of course, that was mentioned earlier, industry certifications, and also specifically adult education programs. We do have our students that are on a GED track through ISAEP, which we have been partnering with Camp Community College with some of the work-based and youth program opportunities for them. So we want to be able to incorporate that also in our JPK Korea Technical Center ideal that we're exploring at this time. Also, we're in the process working with Meta Stratton, who's the Director of Accountability and Assessments, as we look at the VDOE process and application process if we go through and also incorporate the cosmetology and barbering programs in that center. So we're in the process of looking at the planning and informational phases with that process. Our team, as you can see our team members at the bottom, have set a meeting with Suffolk Public Schools where we're going to go in and tour their college and career at the Prudence Center, which has a host of those programs that we mentioned and additional programs. So we have a team meeting with them where we tour and meet and sit down, conversation and discussion with our specific questions as we roll out an ideal plan for that. And that's tomorrow, as you can see that date that we have for that. So that's pretty much where we are in the planning phase and just exploring the concept of even making sure that that's possible and getting data and feedback from a very, local program that's pretty much rolling out the same concept that we're exploring. Any questions for me? Okay.
Thank you again, Dr. Ricks.
There's more.
And I have one more before I take a seat
The
today.
third one now.
The third one. So also, we're in the process of our extracurricular policy updates. The last meeting, we stated that we had a policy back in 2011, and now we're exploring we are taking steps to update our policy, and we have also broke that down in phases because we want to ensure that we're not just putting something together, but that we are definitely working as a team to revise.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Now it's moving by itself.
Okay. So when we look at phase 1, one of the things we're doing now, we've met again 2 times as a committee, a lot of feedback and great discussion and supports, and we're looking at overall our data collection from our senior athletes over a few years trend. We're tracking it. We're going to continue to track it daily. Also, as we look at the data, we have made some major steps as we looking at proposing our policy, and we're still under revision. So the next we gave some feedback today when we met as a team, and we're releasing it again to get additional feedback and clean up some areas. So it's great that we're taking our time and working through that journey together as a team to ensure our students are on that track of success. For phase 2 of that plan, we're going to, and again, we broke it down in phases looking at the needs of our students overall. So we are focusing on academic plans of success for students participating in extracurricular activities, a plan of action specifically for that. So that's not just students that are athletes, but that's students that are in clubs and students that are also in CTE organizations as well. So we're looking at if students need a plan of success, if they're falling under that 2.0 GPA, how do we support them if they're in any of our extracurricular activities? So we're building that, and we're not just building that with our committee currently now, but we also going to include subcommittee members. So we talked about including teachers in that process, club sponsors, and also coaches as we roll out that particular handbook for those opportunities. And you can see that the timeline is there. For phase 3, the timeline between March and July, we're looking forward to having a detailed policy followed by our athletic handbook and also our clubs and organizational handbook development. And in that process, we want to ensure, next slide, we want to ensure, again, that all of our parents, communities, students, coaches, and we all as a team understand what our expectations are for students, how we're going to monitor the progress of each student and move forward. So during the year of 24-25, as you can see, that's our goal, to have all of those key things in place for the next school year. Any questions?
I got a question. Ms. Davis, can we go back a slide, please? So the academic plan of success for the students participating in all these extracurricular activities, is that a blanket action plan, or is it tailored specifically to that student and their needs?
Great question. Yes, we noticed before that our tutoring programs was just general. Students just coming and sitting down and just everybody getting the same thing. But with this particular academic plan of success, it will be tailored to the student's individual needs. So it will be an individualized plan for each student.
And how long?
And it depends on it depends on what that need may be. And it may depends on where they are in terms of their academics, where we may have some students that may be falling at 1.5, or there may be some students at 2.0 that need, it depends on where they need that specific support. It may be a core subject, so we may put in place that they have to, if it's math, then we may put in place that a tutoring program in their academic plan that just focus on math interventions and math supports and things that we may already have in place, or any additional supports that we may need to put in place. So it'll be tailored towards their individual needs.
And they,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
Because I'm on the committee, and I know that a lot of the conversation is how do we utilize what's currently in place, like the Fridays that are days that are available for catch up and extra support and all that. Like, so we were hoping to
Right.
put the tutoring in conjunction with that.
Because we
As
have
whatever else the student
Right.
might need.
Okay.
we have a host of tutoring programs, and we have things that students can take advantage of that they don't necessarily mandatory have to take advantage of. But if they're on this track or this academic plan of success, and we're meeting with the families and we're meeting the students that need that support, we'll present what we have and then draft a plan and monitor it to make sure that they follow through with that plan.
And they still get to participate in extracurricular activities because they are part of.
They are a part of that plan. They possibly use a waiver to be a part of that plan.
Right.
And they're doing what they're supposed to do as it pertains to accountability.
So basically, there is no room. There's no option for them if they fall into this category. We are literally taking them by the hand and making sure.
Yes.
And so,
If they want to stay in sports, correct? Like they've got
or
to
any
go-
of those.
Right, so if they fall below the level that is in the proposal of the draft, then there's waivers where, for example, Principal Felt would be involved. We create this plan and the parents have to sign it, the student has to sign it, so we're teaching accountability. We're also giving grace because if they need a chance to kind of get their academics back up, that's the idea what
That's
the
the
committee
goal.
has been talking about.
I would say to that then, just because of the nature of what it is and how it's very versatile, it's not very rigid, if that makes sense. Just making sure that they have the WIFM, the what's in it for me aspect of it, and it's not a punishment by any means. It's another chance to lay a completely new foundation and still to help them build So just to make sure that that's stressed, and then they know that they have the support of the principals, they have the support of the teachers, the parents, and everyone else. I'm looking forward to seeing how this looks when you all get that together.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our superintendent's report. Thank you, Dr. Ricks.
School board business are our retirees. I don't believe that gentleman is coming tonight, is that?
No, we're going to set it up for January.
Okay. Citizens time, we have no one that signed up. We do have a new citizens time policy. It's been on our website for a couple weeks. I guess that's all I need to say about that. I understand the deer sitting in front of us were courtesy of our building trades department, and Travis, would you pass along our thanks to them, please?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
They are.
really cute.
Our next meeting is next Thursday with City Council. It's at SP Morton, and it tends to be a budget session. I'm not sure what time that is, 6 or 7, but
6.
6.
okay. Board members, anyone else?
I'm just excited about all the collaboration that I feel like is going on. I mean, we have to have all aspects of the community involved in conversations, and I think that there's a lot of ideas that are being put forth that deserve a lot of consideration. And if it's all for the kids, and how do we elevate our students and support our teachers and our administrators, then I hope just by the fact that people do come to our board meetings, I do hope that they take advantage of the opportunity to share their thoughts in whatever way they can, so that we can continue this collaborative approach.
I think the strategic plan 3 days was a perfect example of that. There were people from all over the community there, students, council people. Everybody just worked together, don't you think, Dr. Carter?
Oh, absolutely. They were excited, and the consultant said they normally would have a rough time. There was even an example of a student who said, I would like to write my own mission statement. And she did. She says, I'm not jiving with what the adults are coming up with. Can I write my own mission statement? And she did that, and we incorporated a lot of her language in what you saw tonight.
Okay.
So yeah, just please don't be silent if something's, but at the same time, we have to, having been on several committees where I feel like there's been great conversation of very different viewpoints, we have to recognize that there's a lot of compromise that goes into anything that ends up happening at the end of the day. So you can't just say I hate something and then not participate in the conversation. I would just add that in there.
We did.
We need everybody's viewpoint and then cooperation.
We didn't approve the roofs.
Anything else?
We didn't approve the roofs?
I don't think we approved the roofs, did we?
I thought we did.
I thought we did the second one.
Let me go back. I thought we did.
I thought we voted to approve the 2.5 million.
Okay. We did?
Yeah.
That was something else. I thought we did them together?
What's that?
We did them together?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's fine.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.